In order for the plant to release its full healing potential into the water, there are quite particular protocols and processes that need to take place. And really, a person needs to work in full cooperation with nature and with the nature spirits for that to happen.
Welcome to Homeopathy Hangout, where today we get to hang out with Jodi Linder, the General Manager of First Light Flower Essences in New Zealand.
Weiber, who is the founder and creator of First Light Flower Essences of New Zealand, has been using flower essences and seeing clients for over 50 years. She had an experience where she was sitting in her garden and saw a dewdrop on a plant and connected in with the natural world. And over the years, she learned that she could see the patterns in people and in plants that could support people. So she developed her relationship with nature and cooperatively with nature created the First Light Flower Essences of New Zealand.
What are some things that these essences can help with that people might not necessarily have thought about?
You just think about when you've been out in the forest, you see these beautiful, magnificent, strong, solid trees. And so the trees support us to feel empowered and to stand stable and secure and empowered.
How long would you use a remedy like an essence for, and how would you know that it's working?
Yeah, that's a really good question. How do you know they're working? Generally, we recommend...
Today's guest is Jodi Linder, General Manager of First Light Flower Essences of New Zealand. The First Light Flower Essences were created by Franchelle of Weiber and consists of 185 essences made from various native New Zealand flowers, ferns, trees, seeds, and plants. Jodi has arranged a special discount for our listeners, so you can use the code HOMIE10 to receive a 10% discount. That's HOMIE 10 when you shop at firstlightfloweressences.co.nz. I also want to say a big thank you to the First Light Flower Essences for sponsoring one of their chakra support blends for each of our guests at the Unleashing Homeopathy Conference in Bali. Everyone was delighted to receive their gift in their goodie bag. So thank you so much, Jodi and the team, for your generosity. Enjoy the episode.
Welcome to the Homeopathy Hangout podcast, where we discuss all things homeopathy from around the world. And now our mum and your host, Eugenie Kruger.
The homies, and welcome back to Homeopathy Hangout, where today we get to hang out with Jodi Linder, the General Manager of First Light Flower Essences in New Zealand. Welcome to the show, Jodi.
Thanks, Eugenie. It's so wonderful to be here with you today.
It's really lovely to connect with you too. And we have got a little bit of mutual kind of like ancestry, both like coming from South Africa and New Zealand. And so I'm just really excited to get to connect with you. And I got to have a little bit of experience of the First Light Flower Essences myself, but I think we'll talk about that shortly. We'll first kind of just do like a little bit of an overview of what is the First Light Flower Essences of New Zealand, because it's something when I was living in New Zealand I'd heard of because it's been around for a while, but I never really used them myself until you sent me this magical blend. So give our listeners a little bit of an overview of how it started.
Sure. Well, Franchelle of Weiber, who is the founder and creator of First Light Flower Essences of New Zealand, has been using flower essences and seeing clients for over 50 years, actually. And about 25 years ago, she established First Light Flower Essences of New Zealand, which is a range of native New Zealand flower essences. And she really, from a very young age, actually from the age of 7, she had an experience where she was sitting in her garden and saw a dewdrop on a plant and connected in with the natural world. And over the years, she learned that she could see the patterns in people and in plants that could support people. And so she developed her relationship with nature and cooperatively with nature created the First Light Flower Essences of New Zealand.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, she's actually won the New Zealand Health Industry Award for her pioneering work with flower essences, in particular First Light Flower Essences of New Zealand.
Wow, amazing. Now, I was saying to you before, I think from a marketing point of view, it's kind of limiting calling it flower essences because you guys actually have a range of all sorts of things that you're making remedies from. And that's when you created my blend and you were telling me why you're putting these things in. Some were from seeds and some were from trees and all sorts. That was the part that really blew my mind. So can you tell us a little bit about the range? Because it's not just flowers.
Sure.
There's a variety of different things.
That's absolutely right. So what we know is that in the 21st century, and I'm sure you're finding this with your work too, is that in order to holistically heal, we have to support the whole person. And so we mean physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And as far as I know, the First Life Flower Essences of New Zealand is the only flower essence system that has been created specifically to support all aspects of the being. And by that, I mean the personality. That's the part of us that interacts in the world. That's a filter through which we see and view the world and our personal experiences. The aura, which is our energy body or our energy field, our chakras, which are also working at an energetic level to connect with our physical bodies, that what energy with physicality, and then with our DNA and with our soul that's here having an experience to grow and learn. And so to give you an example, the First Light Flowers range, that works at the level of the personality. So if you think about, we've got these changing moods and emotions and experiences and states. And so, people can sometimes feel super confident one day and then have no self-worth the next day, or they are being really perfectionistic one day and they kind of are a mess the next day. And that's our personality. It's constantly shifting and changing. And so the flower essences were created by Franchelle to bring us into a state of balance at an emotional and mental level. The flowers also help with things like, in today's world, people are got busy minds, so much going on. And so the flowers work at that level to kind of give us a sense of mental tranquility and to bring us back into a state of balance. And so I always think of the flower essences as, I remember years ago, Franchelle teaching about how if we think of ourselves as a musical instrument and we can have this amazing potential to play this beautiful music, but like a musical instrument, we can get kind of banged around and, left outside in the rain and we can get out of tune. And so the First Light Flower Essences support us to kind of tune that musical instrument so that we're back in harmony with ourselves and then we can share this beautiful music with the world. So that's the flowers. Now the ferns, they work at the level of the energy body or the aura. And we use the 7 ferns to clear trauma, to kind of wash away. If you think about the ferns as washing away pain and suffering and grief and shock, so really help us to come back into a state of balance. And what you probably noticed is that when people experience trauma, that can really impact them to the point where it's then triggered or can be triggered and experienced over and over again. And so that's because trauma sits in our energy body. And so if you imagine the ferns can just wash away that grief and that sorrow. And then we've got our tree essences. And our tree essences help us to feel empowered. You just think about when you've been out in the forest and you see these beautiful, magnificent, strong, solid trees. And so the trees support us to feel empowered and to stand stable and secure and empowered, really. And so particularly if you think about nowadays, I'm not sure if you're coming across this with your clients, but I know I am with mine. People are feeling really a bit off balance. They're feeling a bit uncertain. They're feeling kind of a bit all over the place. And so the tree essences can really help people feel supported at different levels of their being. And then we've got the seed essences, 12 seed essences. And the seed essences support us to break old patterns and to release fears. So, for example, I'm sure you've heard people say, I don't know why this keeps happening to me. I keep getting involved with a person who does this, or I thought he was like this, and then it just turns out like he's like everyone else. Or you might hear somebody say, I'm leaving my job because of that woman and there's a political thing going on. But maybe they left the job the last time because of that woman and a political thing going on. And so when we take a seed essence, it helps us to release those old limiting patterns and they support us to come into right relationship with aspects of our life and to release fear. And then we've got the beautiful 22 plant essences, and they help us to grow and to evolve and to meet life's challenges with real confidence. Because ultimately, that's what we're here for, is to grow and to evolve on this amazing adventure. And so the plant essences support us to find the wisdom in what's happening, to emerge even stronger from life's experiences. And so let's say, for example, one of the plant essences helps us to, number 75, it helps us to release and to let go of things. And so that would be an essence to take if we were really struggling to let go of a relationship that wasn't serving us. Or maybe we've got somebody's passing on and we just can't really let go of them and we keep thinking about them, but we want to, give ourselves that freedom to move on, whether it's a relationship or from a person. And so that essence will help us, support us to move on. So those are 5 of the 15 collections, but they're the ones that we most commonly use.
Holy moly. And there's like 185 of them in total or something like that?
Yeah, there's 185 of them in the range, and they all work on different levels of the being. But really, for 98% of cases, the first 84 and the ones that I've spoken with will really support people every day. Yeah. And they're super easy to work with. So whilst it sounds like there's a lot in the range, there is actually very simple ways of working with them.
Amazing. What you were just describing is just so beautiful, because when you created this bespoke blend for me, which I know is something that you do at First Light Flower Essences, is you do like a little mini consult and you can get like a bespoke blend made for you. So I've been using this for the past months, 2 to 3 times daily, and I've actually set reminders on my phone, and so to go off at like 8 o'clock and then 12:30 and then again at 6 p.m. Oh, look, it's a reminder I don't know whose reminder, there's somebody's reminder to set off. That wasn't mine.
It's so funny as you're talking about reminders.
I don't know if they will come through on the audio, but that was quite funny. So my reminders have been going off, which is also funny because I've just intuitively gone, like one of the reminders is at 12:30, but intuitively around 12:25 every day, I go to get my remedy. And then just after that, the alarm goes off. So I'm so used to taking it now. And I think the reason that I love things like flower essences is that they work so beautifully alongside homeopathy. So I'm always looking for guests on the podcast that, can talk about like gemotherapy or flower essences or, all sorts of supporting things. And they work so gently, which I think sometimes can also be the downfall almost, because I was saying to my husband, I'm interviewing Jodie tomorrow and I don't know if I've noticed too much, and she said, what is it supposed to do? And I said, well, some of the things she did was for grief because my mum passed away just over a year ago. And I almost can't even look at a photo of her without tearing up. And the tiniest little thing, makes me tear up. And so he said, you haven't been crying like all the time. And I'm like, oh yeah, it has been working. So I do feel they're so gentle and supportive. Hey, it's been really amazing. And when you put the blend together, I love how you said, I'm putting this fern in for you for the grief. And then you were saying, what else is going on? I'm like, well, my adrenals could do with some work. I'm starting a new homeopathy school. And you're like, well, we'll put this one in for your adrenals and this one for that. And it was just so lovely that you had kind of like thought outside the box, even with like breaking patterns, because we don't just want to remove this thing. We want to replace it with something that's going to stop you doing that. And so like your case taking process was incredibly holistic. And the way that you put it together was just absolutely beautiful. So I thoroughly enjoyed that process as well. So any of the listeners, I highly encourage you to get a flower essence consultation, if nothing else. It was really, really beautiful. So
I'm so pleased to hear that. You're so welcome. And one of the products on our website, we actually call it Nature's Healing Bouquet. Because if you think about it, we can give a person one flower and that can support them, or we can make up a beautiful bouquet, which is what I did for you. I took a flower and I took a fern and I took a tree and a seed and created this beautiful bouquet and popped it in a bottle and sent that over to you. So we call it Nature's Healing Bouquet.
That's amazing. If I just think back on all the stuff that's happened the last month, it has been beyond crazy busy, and somehow I've managed to make it through that all. So, they definitely have worked on a deep level. And I also feel if the people around you notice changes in you, then something's worked. So if my husband's noticed a change in me, then clearly it has it has worked. And I do find I can look at a photo of my mum now and not like bawl my eyes out, because I was literally like avoiding looking at photos of her because there was so much grief. Whereas now everything feels so much lighter. So yeah,
so wonderful. You're so welcome. And we put some essences in your blend that really support you at that level of the heart. We put a fern in, which is silver fern, to support that shock and that, pain. And we put a tree in, which was kauri, and that just, to support your heart chakra. And then we put a seed, a beautiful seed for compassion, just as almost like a healing triangle, as we call it at First Light Flower Essences. So yes. And from memory, actually, the other thing that we chatted about when you were talking about your adrenals was burnout.
Yeah.
And from memory, we put in a beautiful essence called number 13, Kanuka, which is almost like igniting that fire within and supports a lack of burnout and helps you to really shine out into the world. And with all of these amazing things that you are doing and all of these new initiatives, it's so important that you feeling ready to shine out in the world.
Well, it's definitely done all of that because actually also just for time reference for our listeners. So this is now the 18th of July that we're recording this, but this episode's not going out to the 15th of September, and I started taking this remedy a month ago. So it was after taking this remedy as well that I decided, this essence, that I decided to start the Centre for Homeopathic Education in Australia. So, I think that maybe that had something to do with it. It's not until reflection that you go, So there's a few like things that have holistically been working together. But also, I just want to say a huge thank you. And I can say it now because even though the Bali conference hasn't happened in real time, by the time that the episode it will have. First Light Flower Essences of New Zealand have also donated a beautiful chakra blend for all of our attendees at the Unleashing Homeopathy Bali conference. So when I was thinking of putting the goodie bags together for our guests at the conference, I was like, oh, who shall I ask? Who shall I ask? And I reached out to Jodi and she was like, yes, of course. So I'm so excited that our guests at the Bali conference are going to get to experience your flower essences. So thank you so much for that. And by the time this episode comes out, the conference would have already been, so I'm not spoiling any surprises for anyone. So thank you very much for that. I know everyone is going to love it. But what we haven't talked about is your journey. How did you find the First Light Flower Essences? Because you've been using it for a long time.
Yeah, over 20 years. And Eugenia, when I talk about the essence, I always say that nature's got a very interesting way of tapping you on the shoulder. And when I've spoken to other people working in the holistic healing sector, most people will say that they got that tap on the shoulder and until they paid proper attention to it. And that's kind of what happened to me. And so I'd always had an interest in homeopathy from a really little girl, actually, when it really supported me to heal an ongoing illness that I had. But anyway, didn't pay a whole lot of attention to that and got to New Zealand and really struggled when I arrived here, actually. There was a chain of events that created a lot of anxiety for me. And I didn't have family here. I didn't have friends. And I was really isolated. And it was a very, very difficult time. And a girlfriend of mine came over from the UK and she bought me some Bach rescue remedy, which are native English flower essences, to try. And they didn't kind of make everything go away, but I just felt like I could cope again. And so that opened the door for me into flower essences. And then I met the extraordinary Francesca, the creator of First Light Flower Essences of New Zealand.
You just have to say that surname slowly for the listeners, because I think they're just thinking like me that you're making a babble, but it's actually a real surname, right?
So she's Francesca.
Okay.
It really is quite extraordinary. And I had a little holistic wellbeing practice, and I met her and started using the flower essences. And then as life kind of takes some twists and turns, I got into the corporate world. And I actually had recruitment businesses working in exec recruitment in the retail sector, so I'm in the corporate world. But then nature tapped me on the shoulder again because Francesca was launching her book, The Sacred Plant Medicine of Aotearoa. And a girlfriend of mine said, oh, come with me. I'm going to this book launch. And so off I went. And at that book launch, I won a draw to attend a course that Francesca was doing on the flower essences. And so once I did that course, I was absolutely hooked, but I was still in the corporate world. And so I was making essences and blends for my friends and my family and my team. If someone had a heartbreak, if they were overwhelmed at work, my clients, you name it. So, for many, many years. And then about 10 years ago, I started doing some work in Francesca's business for her. It was just one day a week, a weekend, a morning. Then it was 5 days a week. And now, other than a little bit of corporate contracting, I'm just on an absolute mission to make these accessible and get them out into the world. So that's what I do now. And it's just so magical having a foot in both worlds, in the world where people need them and helping to make them accessible, and then actually working in the business and with the essences, so I really feel like I've won the jackpot.
Oh, what a cool story. I love that. Tell us about some other things that they can support. You have said they do the, mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, but what are some things that these essences can help with that people might not necessarily have thought about?
Oh, that's a really good question. So as you said earlier, they work well with lots of other modalities. And so really they can support a person with whether it's an illness that they're struggling with, they can support them while they're working through that. If there's an emotional problem, I suppose a good way to look at it is that we can look at it to help with holistic healing, with personal transformation, and we can work with them reactively. So where there's something going on and we need some help or some support, or we can work proactively. So it might be where we've got something coming up and we really want to prepare for that. So let's say if we're looking at a physical level, I've got a really special girlfriend and her name's Nikki Lowe, and she's very open about bringing endometriosis and what that's like out into the world. And so Nikki she's a naturopath herself, and she's been working to kind of really support her body. But she loves the flower essence blends because what they do is they help her to come sometimes to peace, a state of peace with what's happening in her body and acceptance. Sometimes it helps her to stay positive and to find the joy in everyday life. There's a beautiful essence called number 81 Tanikaha, which is the joy essence. And, life can get pretty serious out there. And that's such a beautiful essence to take or to put in the blend. And so that's one of her favorites. And so when she's struggling, very often she'll use the first flower essences to support her. So that's at a physical level.
Mm-hmm.
An emotional level, I've had calls from mums whose kids are going through their first heartbreak. And can I create a flower essence to support that? I've had mums whose kids are struggling at school, being bullied and not fitting into social groups. And for example, number 1 Putakawa, very first flower essence that was created, is so wonderful to help if somebody's being bullied or is actually being a bully or is feeling victimized in some way. And so great for kids. There's a beautiful essence called Ko-Fi, number 25, and that supports change and helping people to have a spirit of adventure. So let's say if you're moving house or you're starting a new job or kids going to a new school, and there's just that kind of stress that comes with the change. And so when you take that essence, it supports you to embrace that change and to, like I say, embody the spirit of adventure. So there's just those everyday life things. And then there's ways, so for example, I actually had a message from a woman the other day who'd had quite a traumatic childhood that left her feeling very unsafe and quite resentful around what was happening. And so even though she saw it as kind of really making her a stronger person and giving her depth that a lot of people in her world didn't have, she felt, and an ability to be empathetic and compassionate, every now and again she would wake up feeling very unsafe and also really bitter towards these people who had done this in her world. And so we made up a beautiful flower essence for her where we gave her, it was a fern essence, king fern, and kahikatea tree fern, and broadleaf, which is a seed. Once again, one of those beautiful triangles that work together to help her feel safe and secure in the world. And then I also gave her a flower, which is number 24, Pora, which actually supports with any resentment or bitterness. And so she's now taking that. So there's a few kind of ways. Another one would be in today's everyday world, a lot of people don't like speaking in public. Karamu, number 63, fantastic to support you if you're going out into the public, to have a bit of confidence doing some public speaking, to share your ideas and your thoughts.
Can I order one of those, please? Because I'm supposed to speak in Bali and I have tried to get out of it so many times. It's not even funny. And my co-organizers keep laughing at me because they're like, Eugenie, how can you be afraid of public speaking? You have a podcast. I'm like, but this is different. I'm like, I don't see all the thousands of people watching me, but in Bali, it's going to be different because they're going to be staring at me while I'm talking. And so that would be awesome.
I totally get that. And so I'm making a note here, but that would be another great one for you to experiment with.
No, just write the name down. I'll go hop on your website and order that after. But also, as you're talking, like I'm missing New Zealand so much right now because New Zealand has some of the most beautiful plants. As you say, Purakawa and like Ko-Fi. And I'm just like seeing all these trees in Kauri. New Zealand is so, so beautiful. And the plants are so gorgeous and unique there, and the plant life is so incredible. And so as you're saying these things, I'm just like, I'm really, really missing Aotearoa right now. So
Hope you're going to come over and visit us. It'd be so nice to have you here.
Well, maybe we should like drop it in here, because I was just thinking, like literally yesterday, I was speaking with somebody at one of the associations in New Zealand, and they were talking about bringing the Centre for Homeopathic Education into New Zealand so that they can get student loans and things like that as well. So we'll just drop it here because we haven't announced it anywhere yet. Just drop it here. We'll see what happens. If any Kiwis are interested, please do get in touch.
Fantastic.
So it's not just the bespoke blends that you have. You have single remedies, and you've got, I mean, I call them remedies, but would you call them remedies as well? Do you
Sure. Yes, sure. We've just got to be mindful about what words we use when we're when we're advertising them because of advertising standards, but they're absolutely emotional remedies without it. Yeah.
So you've got the single like essences or remedies. You've got combination, like pre-made combinations. I know you sent me one for like perimenopause.
Yeah.
Like a pre-made one that you can just get off the website. And you've got the chakra one, which you've donated for our guests for Bali. But you've got a whole variety of other blends on there as well, or combinations. I don't know what you would call them, but maybe talk to us a little bit about, what sort of like, can you use them together? Can you have different combinations? Can you create your own ones for practitioners who are listening?
Absolutely.
How would they get started in learning how to use this?
Okay, so the first thing I have to say is that whilst there are a lot of essences, they are super simple to start using. So you can pick essences just by keywords, by information that you might have heard, or you can even use your intuition and other methods. We've got heaps of kinesiologists who use them just through muscle testing. And when I first started, I used a pendulum. So there's such a wonderful variety of ways that you can use them. And you can start off with just one essence, like we've spoken about, one for growth or one to support change or one for letting go. Or we can create a blend, and I'll just show you. So this, for example, is how a single essence comes in a little 10 ml stock bottle. And you can take it directly onto your tongue, or you can make a flower essence blend, which is what you had. Yeah. Or you can just put some drops into some water. Perfect. Yeah. Put some drops into some water in your water bottle and sip throughout the day. So if you imagine we've got a single one, you can create a blend for yourself or your client if you wanted to. Out of up to 8. And then we've got these wonderful ready-made blends, which are just off the shelf. So often when I'm doing a mini consult with somebody, like when you and I spoke, Eugenie, we were addressing something in particular, and I made up a blend out of single flower essences for you. But then you mentioned perimenopause. And so I sent one of these to you, and off the shelf, ready-made with 8 first eye flower essences inside of them to support you in that way. And so we've got this one actually over here is client focus. So this one is specifically to support people in practice, supporting other people. So it helps us to kind of maintain our autonomy and, to not take on our client struggles, really. Yeah. And so, that's pretty much, as you say, we've got single essences. You can make a blend with up to 8, or you can get a ready-made blend.
It's a good one to remember that you can put it in the water bottle. I kind of forgot. I know you did tell me and I forgot about it. I also saw somebody even advertising on your social media. There was like a lady that you will know what I'm talking about, but she was like making a smoothie and then putting the essences in her smoothie.
Totally. So great for kids. Yep. So you can pop it in their smoothies. And that water bottle trick is fantastic because I've been in a meeting where I've been a bit nervous, to be honest. And so I've made up a little blend and popped a few drops into my water bottle and nobody's even known that I've been drinking it. And it's just helping to feel a bit calm and grounded. So you can add it to food, and great for animals too. So I've got a little dog who really is petrified of fireworks. And so when they're fireworks, I'll put just 3 drops of our crisis support into her water. And it doesn't make her super chill and calm. It just takes the edge off. So I notice her little body stops shaking. She's still super clingy, but so great for animals as well, just in their water and for kids in their water bottles.
Amazing. Yeah, kids in the water bottles, I think it's great for like focus and probably like immunity if they're a bit unwell and all those sorts of things. I often think, I went to a very small like school in Cape Town in South Africa. We were like literally 7 kids in the class, and like see the kids these days and they've got like 30 children in the class, of which, more than half of them have additional needs and need extra support. There's technology, there's Wi-Fi in the school classroom, and Just think, how are these poor kids supposed to focus? There's no way that I would have been able to do that if I had 30 kids around me, talking with like one teacher. How would you even do that? So, unfortunately, not everyone can homeschool. And like sometimes the reality is the kids do have to go to school. They do have to often go to mainstream school where they are going to be put in these situations. So anything that we can do to counteract the effects of, all the Wi-Fi, the technology, all the various influences from all the people around them, all the energies of everyone around them, things like flower essences in the water bottle is such a great way to support them.
Yeah, absolutely. And my partner has 3 girls. And so over the years, I've shared the flower essences with them.
Oh.
And the youngest one, how I worked with her was I would just name some keywords for her and say, tell me how you want to feel. And I would just name the different keywords for the essences. And then she'd go, oh, yeah, like that. Oh, yeah, like that. Oh, yeah, I want to feel like that. And we would make up a blend for her like that. Or another great way to use it with kids is we've got little flower essence cards. And so I was working at a market and a gentleman brought his little boy in there who was super shy and didn't really want to speak with me. And so he literally just picked some flower essence cards and we made a blend that way. And his dad said it was perfect. So there's lots of interesting ways to work with flower essences in kids and they tend to respond really well.
In a case like that, how long would you use a remedy like a essence for, and how would you know that it's working?
Yeah, that's a really good question. How do you know they're working? So to answer your first question, generally we recommend using the essences for 28 days in general, because that's kind of a full cycle. And what we have observed is that change takes place in that first month. And then we generally will use the essence for a second month to integrate those changes. But sometimes people feel changes straight away and they've got the shift that they need. So for example, when you go to Bali and we've made you up a little remedy for Bali, you will probably want to start taking that a little bit before you go so that by the time you get there, you're already in a good space for your public speaking. But once you've done your public speaking, you may feel like you don't need to be taking that one anymore. But how do you know that they're working? Well, for some people, like I say, it's quite subtle, like your experience was quite subtle. And then you realized, oh, there were some changes. Other people can feel something quite shift straight away. Like they might feel a bit more grounded or feel more centered or feel more confident. Other people, it's like an aha moment. So it might be like where they're just like going around normal life, doing their thing, and then suddenly they have a realization. They're like, oh my God, the penny dropped. I haven't realized that. I've been walking past this place all this time and never seen that or realized that about myself. And so there's an aha moment. And for other people, it might be a case of, I often hear people go, this happened and that happened. And then I thought, could that be the flower essence? No, probably not. But maybe it was. And that's how you know that it's working. But you said something really interesting earlier on, and that was how the people around you notice. And, in this world that we're living in, it's a crazy world. And I know so many people who are looking at ways to make a positive impact or ways to make a difference. And so if you think about the impact that when you are feeling more imbalanced or when you aren't struggling or where you've healed something that you've been struggling with, the impact that has on your family and on each person in the family, the impact that has on them and then out into the world, that kind of ripple effect of positivity, really.
That's beautiful. So just specifically, I'm just kind of thinking for kiddies with the water bottles at school for concentration, or maybe they're starting a new school or they're going to daycare for the first time or something like that. Especially let's say concentration, because, that can be like an ongoing thing for somebody, say, for example, with ADHD or something like that. You said that first 28 days and then maybe another month. But then after that, would you continue like using it, say, once a week or something like that? Or would you just
Absolutely.
Okay.
So there's certain essences that you should see the bottles on my desk, honestly, because you can take more than one at a time. You just have to be clear about what your intention for taking them at the time. And so, for example, with the kiddies, it might just be something that, like the musical instrument, they can get banged around, and the flower essence just helps us to stay in tune and in a state of inner harmony. And so it might mean that you are happy to keep your child taking those flower essences, or it might mean that they get to a particular point and then maybe you circle back and give it to them. So absolutely, yep. I've got particular essences that for me, because I've got, default settings.
For symptoms of like perimenopause, for example, like how long would you use the menopause spray, for example?
Yeah, so that
that's obviously not something that's going to go away overnight. So
unfortunately not. Apparently it lasts 15 years.
Yeah, I've heard. Oh, damn, I heard 10 years. Now you've just told me 15. Okay, I was mentally preparing myself for 10. Okay, so it's not going to go away overnight. So if somebody was to use your menopause spray over the 10, 15, whatever, however many years, how would they use that?
Yeah, so look, you would take 2 to 4 sprays 3 to 4 times a day, and that would be one of the essences that I would probably consistently be taking. Because, for example, in that Vital Woman Menopause Support, there's an essence to support letting go of what no longer serves you. There's one, number 82 Golden Tainui, which helps you to kind of hear your soul's call to the next adventure. There's a beautiful essence, Karamiko, which helps you to stay kind of receptive and objective and have a sense of tranquility about you. And so those are, I think, in any case, whether you are having a physical rough day with perimenopause or menopause symptoms, or just in general, it's such a wonderful way to be encouraged to feel.
Nice.
But like I said to you earlier, for example, if you're going to be doing a public speaking course, or we've got a crisis support, which is our equivalent of a rescue remedy. So that one you don't need to be taking every day, but fantastic for if somebody's had a shock, or they've gotten a fright, or there's been an accident, or even before a school exam. If kids get really super anxious. And then you would only take that when you needed to. Like I've always got one of those in my handbag for just in case.
Amazing. You showed me before we started recording this beautiful chart that you've got there. Can you just show me some of your cool things? And then for our listeners most people listen through the audio only, but if you're going to listen on Rumble or YouTube, I don't like to say YouTube because they deleted my channel, but go on rumble.com, type in Homeopathy Hangout, and then you can watch the video of this. But do you want to hold up that chart of yours?
Yeah, of course.
It's so pretty.
Yeah, so like I said to you, it's very easy to get started. And so to help practitioners or even just people who want to use it, we've got this chart. It's the first 84 essences, which are the ones that I discussed with you, with little keywords and summaries. So you can literally just look for something that you think might work and pop it into an essence or give it to a client or yourself. And then we've got, these are online as well, just a brochure with all the essences and all the keywords. So that's kind of like the next level if you want a little bit more information. And then Fanchelle has written this incredible book, which is The Sacred Plant Medicine of Aotearoa, Volume 1. And there's Fanchelle at the back. And
it's a meaty book, far out.
It's really meaty. And it's so fabulous because it talks about everything from what are flower essences to how do they work. I just want to find some pictures to showing you the pictures of what the flowers actually look like, to her story of how she discovered what she's discovered, and then all the way through to each essence. There's about a page and a half on each essence and how to use it and all the wonderful things that it can help with. And then if you wanted to go even further and learn even more, then you can enroll in one of her courses with the First Light College of New Zealand Native Flower Essence Therapy.
Amazing. That's so beautiful. Just wondering, do you happen to have a repertory like we do with homeopathy?
Yes, we do.
You do?
On the website, you can actually choose by a feeling or a symptom, and it recommends an essence for you.
Oh, that's cool. So anybody can do that on the website. It's not
absolutely.
Just... Okay.
Yeah. So there's lots of different ways to choose. Like I say, you can get a mini consultation if you're looking to start, or you can write in with a problem and we'll make up an essence or a recommendation, or you can go to the repertory and just type in something that you're struggling with and it will bring up some essences that can help. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
I mean, native New Zealand plants are really, just absolutely extraordinary. Eugenie, we're so lucky to have their gifts.
It's very, very unique flora in New Zealand and fauna as well. Anything else? What else would you say makes New Zealand First Light essences unique?
Well, one of the key things, I'd say there's 2 key things that make them really unique. The first is that they're made from native New Zealand plants. And so what we know is that native New Zealand plants developed in isolation for millions of years. And so they've got characteristics that are quite extraordinary, that are unlike any other plants anywhere else in the world. And I'll give you a couple of examples. So, for example, a lot of plants, when they grow, have got taproots, and they're roots that go really, really, really deep into the ground. And so the plant can support itself. Now, native New Zealand trees and plants don't have taproots. They've got very, very shallow root systems. And so when you often driving in New Zealand, you'll see these big gorges of these massive trees hanging off the sides of big cliffs. And the trees support each other. They help each other. The older trees support the younger trees that support other trees. And so it's a very cooperative, supportive ecosystem. And so Franchelle has said that one of the keynotes for the First Up Flower Essence range is one of cooperation and participation, working cooperation with nature. And another really curious fact is that, as far as I know, there's, in a lot of countries, there's something called toxic warfare between plants. So if you will sit under a pine tree from another country, you'll often notice that nothing grows underneath it. And that's because it's kind of asserting its territory with particular toxins. Now, as far as I know, New Zealand plants don't engage in toxic warfare at all. You also might be curious to know that New Zealand flowers, other than, for example, the pohutuka'a, which is a beautiful big red flower, or kowhai, which is yellow, most native New Zealand flowers are very little, and they might be green or white. And I'm constantly delighted when I walk past a tree and go, oh, something looks a bit different there, and you'll see hiding under a leaf somewhere is this bountiful amount of little tiny flowers that you would never notice if you just looked at them. So really potent little flowers. So so that's one of the things, just really how unique native New Zealand flora is. And another thing is that my understanding is that flower essences are made when you have a plant in water, and sunlight is the catalyst that helps to move the holistic healing vibration or healing blueprint of that plant from the plant into the water. And then that is then transferred to the person who takes the flower essence. But my understanding in studying with Franchelle is that in order for the plant to release its full healing potential into the water, there are quite particular protocols and processes that need to take place. And really, a person needs to work in full cooperation with nature and with the nature spirits for that to happen. So there's two quite unique facts.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So it's great that there's such a wide range, but nobody needs to feel overwhelmed because there's nice and easy ways of starting to work with them. And if you just want to have a play, just go for a combination and see how you go from there. And you can't really do anything wrong, and it doesn't sound like there's any contraindications. So it sounds like a really nice, easy way for just the general public to start playing around with them, but also for practitioners to have a little play around. And I think you said you ship worldwide, right?
Yeah, we do. We ship all over the world. And exactly as you say, you can start with a single essence or just with a collection. So if you're a practitioner who's worked, for example, with Bach flower remedies, you could start with the first light flowers, numbers 1 to 36, because they correlate to the Bach remedies. Or you might find that I spoke with a lady actually last week who her speciality, she's a psychologist and she deals with trauma. And so you might just want to get the 7 fern essences to start that work to support with different types of, healing trauma. So at an energetic level. And so you could start with just a collection or the kit. And as I said to you, just super easy. Just start by finding a keyword, or even if there's a particular plant, a picture of a plant that really resonates for you, that's often one that you might need because you'll know what you need too, or you could read the book. Like I say, if you're curious to go a little bit further, or do a course.
Amazing. And you've got the oracle cards as well. I do like oracle cards.
Yeah, they're little flower essence cards with keywords on them too. Yeah. So super easy to use if people enjoy card readings. I often do that if I'm working at a market or an event.
And you were also incredibly generous to offer our listeners a bit of a discount. Do you want to tell them about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've come up with a great name, haven't we? For it?
We did. So this is for our listeners, very on the spot, very spontaneous. So we've decided the code is, did we decide on Homies 10, right?
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
Jodie is so generous. She's like, hey, I'll give your listeners a discount. I'm like, sure. I'm sure they'll be up for that. So, yeah, but if anything changes, I'll let you know in the intro of the episode. But Homies
Yes,
10.
so if you'd like Homies 10 for 10% off your order, absolutely. And if you've got any questions or you want a recommendation or just, a finger in the right direction, you're just welcome to just send an email, on our contact page, and I'll be back in touch to help with anything that you need.
Okay, and just flick into the website as well. So just firstlightfloweressences.co.nz, right?
Perfect. Yeah.
Firstlightfloweressences.co.nz. So go and check it out. It's a beautiful website, and there's a lovely introduction video there with Franchelle as well.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Is there anything that we've missed? I mean, I'm so excited to start working with them. Like anything else that we should have talked about?
Oh my gosh, I think this is a perfect introduction.
Okay.
And I think we've covered a lot, and it's been such a pleasure to share them with you. So my mission is just to make them as accessible as possible. And thank you so much for helping us to do that.
It's such a pleasure. Thank you so much for the goodies for our goodie bag. And you were so generous even to give our guests the stock bottles. So the homeopaths who are coming to the conference in Bali can take that stock bottle back and go and create remedies for their clients, which is incredible.
Yeah, you can make up to between 60 and 70 remedies out of one stock bottle. So go a long way. So I thought that way they can have an experience, and if they want to share it, and it's more than enough.
And do you tend to do them with brandy, with the essences, or do you do them with vodka?
Yeah. Okay. So the First Light Flower essences use brandy as a preservative. And then the First Light Natural Health, we use ethanol.
Okay, excellent.
So both alcohol preservatives. And you've raised a really interesting point there, because there are people who don't want to have alcohol. And so if it is, so they're such small amounts. So we've got heaps of kids and animals that take them. But if somebody was concerned about the alcohol, you could just put a few drops into an empty glass and pour some boiling water over that. And in that way, all the alcohol evaporates. So it can still be used. And you can also make the blends up with apple cider vinegar as a preservative.
Amazing. Great. It's good to have those options there. Oh, you've managed to squeeze a little bit more value in here at the end. Nice.
We could just keep going, but I think that's a good start, Eugenie.
No, that's a good start. That's amazing. And maybe if the listeners, if there's any other particular topic with the First Light Flower essences that you want Jodie to come back on the podcast and talk about, do let us know. But thank you so much. It was lovely to have a chat with you today. And I'm excited to start using them in my clinic.
Wonderful. And I can't wait to see what you're getting up to next, Eugenie.
Chat with you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.